I think she evolves each season. I think on the surface, this one, it looks very feminine, so it looks very close to what everybody knows the house is about.
I was really surprised when I saw New York, how wintry was New York and lack of colors, and say, what's happening, because I want colors.
Rick Owens was one of the best shows I've ever seen in umpteen years going to fashion shows. It was so thrilling.
Texture was very important this season, and I think I had in mind to do a predominantly white collection. So I knew if there was going to be a lot of white, there had to be a lot of texture in some ways. So it really did range from lightweight chiffons, Broadway anglaise, tweeds, and quite sporty cottons, which were mixed with nylon. So there was a lot of different fabrics working together for the show today.
I think Peter Copping is so good at making clothes that women can wear, honestly. And I really liked how he sort of lightened things up this season, and it was really sweet. The starting point was romantic menswear, actually, historic romantic menswear. And so there were sort of some interesting lightweight waistcoats and beautiful shirt dresses. Shirt dresses are kind of a big thing this season.
I think she evolves each season. I think on the surface, this one, it looks very feminine, so it looks very close to what everybody knows the house is about. But there was masculine elements thrown in this season. There was a kind of quite easy men's pant that was in 2 exits in grey flannel. There was a grey flannel coat. And then just there's some easy pieces there as well, like the white piqué waistcoat and the elongated waistcoat as well. Always sweaters and skirts. That's a very key look to us, but very kind of realistic in some ways. I think it's something that women actually do wear. So I think as the collections go forward, they're broadening out as well in their appeal.
An interesting moment, I think, for Peter Copping. Obviously, Nina Ricci is known so much for its very feminine fashion, very influenced by lingerie. There's lots of lace. And he, this season, decided to bring a real masculine element into it by looking at 18th century waistcoats. So it was a surprise for sure, and I thought it was a very quiet beginning, the way it started all in white. I was really blown away by that beautiful Sèvres blue towards the end, and to be honest, I wish there had been a little bit more sprinkled through, but more power to Peter for experimenting a bit with the codes of the house.
The print, I knew that was a way where I could add colour to the collection, because as much as I like the idea of doing a white collection, I think a total white collection can sometimes seem like a bit of a cliche. So I knew that I could add colour by the print. I also added grey in, which was a kind of in-between tone. Black was completely eradicated, and then just a flash of this bright blue, which I refer to as the bleu de Sèvres, because it is very much like 18th century China.
Peter always has such a love of feminine detail, and it started out with beautiful variations on every shade of white, and then there were beautiful florals and lovely pastels, and it's just the most delicious collection. I mean, it's for a woman who, you know, revels in her femininity.
I love Nina Ricci. I know Nina Ricci is, like, to me, just the most feminine, balletic, kind of just appeals to your gut. And it's so unpretentious, and it's so just kind, and sort of, you feel like those clothes love women, and you want to love them right back. So I love those lacy things and layered things and different shades of whites, and really beautiful collection. He knows exactly what that brand is and what it needs and what women need. And hi, I like that. I want that.
I thought Peter copying at Nina Ricci did an amazing job, and I think continues to do an amazing job, and just it feels ever more refined and ever more confident, and I think he just gives you a moment to look at things that are beautifully made and beautifully conceived, and I think he's a real star.
I think, you know, for a while Nina Ricci was just very French, you know, and very sort of, I don't know, you felt like you had to be sort of this specific kind of woman to wear it, and now it's much more, it's really like on its way to becoming sort of a full range brand that a lot of people can participate in.
Well, I should hope so. I mean, I think in some ways that's, you know, that's what we're aiming for.
I think for Roland, he wanted to address the sort of monochrome idea of Paris, but with this much more sort of holiday, happy, reggae, much more relaxed idea of the summer and it being a celebration and not so uptight and a bit less, you know, complex.
I was really surprised when I saw New York, how wintry was New York, and lack of colors, and say what's happening, because I want colors. I want that kind of you know, vibe, and I went for it completely.
I thought it was beautiful. I mean, he, in his program notes, said he was inspired by the Palais Royal and those wonderful abstract sculptures there, and you could see it in the black and white stripes. But I really loved his use of color and the blocking of it and the textured use of it. It was also interesting because I think everybody tends to think of him as someone who does silhouettes that are very close to the body and very unforgiving. And these were looser. There was a lot of room to breathe, and I thought he did them really well.
Everything was based about sweat. Everything was based about how your body reacts in texture and which kind of texture you want to have around that.
The Roland Mouret show reminded me of the Memphis movement from the 80s. It's a kind of American architectural movement that actually altogether it kind of looked great. I thought the shoes were amazing. I loved all the shoes. And some of the dresses were really fun.
We discussed, would we incorporate a flat shoe, which seems like a bit of a weird question to have, but for us as a house, it's never been something we've ever discussed in terms of creatively, and so we decided, yeah, she'd wear a flat shoe, she'd have this lots of flesh exposed in terms of midriffs and arms, and it was this combination of the sophistication of Paris with the sort of laissez-faire attitude of the Caribbean and the holidays. Went away to Greece this summer, and on the beaches there everyone was playing reggae, and it just gives off such a really relaxed idea of where you are and what you're doing that he wanted to bring it back to here.
The print is, I love to start from things that are around me, and it's a flower I had in my bedroom last show. It was a widow kid, and I started to photograph it and give it to my team, and they came out with that fantastic, weird flower.
I love Roland Mouret. I think Roland is one of the sort of underappreciated designers. He's a real designer, so I mean, you know that whatever you're going to see at his show is something that's real fashion. It's not just sort of cute styling and a flashback to 1994. And I thought there were beautiful cuts. I thought the shoes were kind of funky and interesting. Yeah, and you know, people I think of him for draping and for sort of sexy shapes, and it was a little bit of a departure for him, I think. So it was interesting, and he's very handsome. Hello.
Yeah, I think it's a very different, you know, dialogue that he's having creatively with the people he's addressing. And I think people, hopefully, they liked it.
It's a step, it's a new step, and I think how to make it mine and to be clever with it and to please the customer. You know, it's, at the end we're doing a job to please someone, and it's not just you guys, it's the customer.
The Rick Owens show certainly stood out. I mean, it was a really powerful use of non-models. And I thought it was particularly interesting because, you know, he talked about the exercise of having to design for so many different body types. And essentially, you know, he made, I don't know, 40 couture pieces in a way because there were no sample sizes there. So I applaud him for sure for taking on that challenge.
Rick Owens was one of the best shows I've ever seen in umpteen years going to fashion shows. It was so thrilling when all of the girls from those sororities came out doing the stepping, and then you saw the audience's faces and people were just, what is this? It's totally astonishing. It was fantastic.
Well, it was a fantastic spectacle, one of the feel-good moments of the season, if not fashion ever. You know, he rivals Marc Jacobs, I would say, for creating a fashion extravaganza. And this season, I think it made everybody feel uplifted and positive and like girl power.
To see someone who doesn't have to do that, who has an established brand, who could design for however he wanted to and put whoever he wanted to on that runway, I thought it was really nice that he decided to sort of broaden his vision.
Rick Owens was the highlight of the week. I mean, it was so much fun. The casting was incredible. It's been very amusing having overly svelte fashion friends of mine saying, but how am I going to look in those clothes? Like, welcome to the rest of humanity. No, I thought the clothes were great, and it was really interesting seeing them on body types that we don't usually associate with the Paris runway. And it had so much energy, it was truly fun.
Rick Owens was a show that really put a smile on everyone's face, and that, you know, gave us a break from just seeing clothes on the runway. I think it's very smart of Rick to do something that sort of sets a mood rather than just show clothes. It brought a bit of American culture to Paris and a bit of subculture to Paris, sort of showing people something that they hadn't necessarily seen. And I think that's important in fashion. Fashion is more than just about clothes, it's about culture as well. So he did, it was great that he did that, I thought. One of my favorite shows.
challenging because once you have that sort of individual presence on the runway, I do think that it's competitive with your clothing. And with these girls on the runway, I do think that his clothes to some degree took, sort of played the chorus and they were the stars. But that said, I don't think that the clothes always have to be the main event when they contribute so much to the sort of overall sense of the woman who's on the stage.
In those situations, the clothes always sort of take place second fiddle a bit. Looking back on them, I noticed a lot of just very wearable leather pieces, a very simple palette of black and camel khaki and white, much less sort of goth than he usually does, and I guess more street in feeling.
I mean, talk about bringing things down to the street and making it kind of real. I love the way he had there's no other word for it, but the balls to do that. I thought it was great. I mean, the clothes were great. And that's the thing as well. You're not just seeing the incredible steppers performing, but also you're looking at great clothes. And I thought that was really amazing.